Hey, intern. Hey guys, Dante here, and welcome back to my channel, The Burgos Art. And welcome back to another edition of Sunday Night Streaming. Now, some of you may notice that I have been out for the past 2 weeks. I want to say 2 weeks. I have been suffering heavy chest congestions. It's not COVID. Maybe it's allergies, but it's been affecting my asthma a lot. Or rather, it's just been affecting me in general. I'm breathing fine, it's just the chest feels heavy and it's just hard to do streaming. I just couldn't get into it, it just felt yucky. But now we're back. We are back, and today we are doing some OCs. Like old school OCs. So, here is my story. There's a lot of stories and characters that I have come up with and still develop in my mind over the past several years. More than several years, like my entire life pretty much. And there's a certain grouping of monsters. Essentially just mostly anthropomorphic inhuman characters. These group of monsters that I created back as far back as like 4th grade. And they've, I can even mentally backtrack and tell you exactly what the influences and the inspirations were and how I've developed them and changed them to make them more unique in a way from just being like fan kind of characters. And these are like my babies. Like these are like my long running babies. Whether or not I still do stories with them, whether or not they're fully developed. But yeah, that's them. These monster characters. So today we're gonna be drawing some OCs. We're gonna be drawing those characters, one or two of them, just because they need a facelift. And I pulled out an old sketchbook. This is from 2008 to 2009. This is when I used to like burn through sketchbooks once a year. I have an entire shelf of sketchbooks that I used to burn through once a year. But I just don't have enough. Not that I don't have the time for it, but I used to burn through these sketchbooks in school and at my previous job. But my current job, in the past roughly 6 years, I just can't sit down and draw on the job. And you can't. It's a physical moving job. And I've just been active on other projects, but I just haven't really filled out many sketchbooks. I used to like just burn through these sketchbooks, and I got to a point where I just had to label them and put them on a shelf. So today we are drawing the aptly named, is that the right term? Aptly named character Camille. I mind you, a lot of these characters I made when I was little, so the names are kind of like generic. And Camille is a kind of like an anthropomorphic chameleon. Who I've developed over the years, the more I began to understand what chameleons actually are and what they do. For example, chameleons do not camouflage. When I first designed Camille, she was someone that would like touch objects, and she loved butterflies and flowers because she would I would imagine her like rolling through a field of flowers, and she'll get up and she'll have like tie-dye colors on her, which is not what they do. So after years and years, I nixed that idea, and I decided to make it where Camille's colors change based on her emotional state. And I looked up some designs of like what chameleons look like what different chameleons do when they get angry or sad or whatever. So like when they're like presenting, chameleons are like actually very vibrant in color. Like some chameleons just turn like a vibrant yellowish green. And some chameleons, when they get angry, they get almost like face paint. Like there's one that was like the bottom jaw is white with red marks going down, and that's what I did for Camille. Then I started reading stories about reading certain notes that said only male chameleons do it, only female chameleons do it, and I decided, you know what, no. Camille's a female, but she does have the ability to change color when she gets like emotionally distraught. And yeah, so we're gonna dive right into that. I'm gonna put this over here, my old book for reference. Please excuse me, as I just try not to knock everything over. I guess you could say Camille is kind of energetic and kind of a happy character, just naturally always happy. Excuse me. I got the hiccups. And essentially, I guess she's kind of influenced by Ducky from Land Before Time. And if I had to picture Camille as a human, she's probably like a very thin and tall, maybe African American, I don't know why. That's the way. I just always imagine like the actress being played by African American, very thin and tall, and she does have like kind of full lips. Since chameleons have lips that wrap all the way back, like a snake does, Camille's face kind of resembles, oh, not her face, but her mouth kind of resembles like Audrey too, with like full lips in the front, but when she gets like excited, you see the jaw open up more than it should. That's, I don't know, just little like notes in my head. So let's get into, let's do what we normally do, which is we are going to go ahead and do a sketch layer like we always do. Sketch layer is just light blue. That is a gel pen. That is. Oh, hold on. Had to. Why is that so light? Oh, that's why it's so light. There's the light blue. Let's make that. Let's make it a 4. There we go. There we go. I have no idea what pose to put her in. Let's do a little quick search. A little quick Google search for some reference drawings. Something that might come in handy. If I also scooch my chair closer. Closer! There we go. Perfect. I found a nice basic reference for like pose we could use. Copy image. New layer and paste image. Get rid of. We don't need that layer. But here's our basic reference. You know what? File new. It's like what? It's like almost 2 inches. 2 inches by 2 inches. There we go. Put that reference in a side picture off to the side. Blip. Alright, let's get to it. Let's do it to it. Once again, haven't drawn a. Hello, Marigold. Happy Sunday to you too. So, mind you, these are characters. It's the characters I drew way back when. And as I went along, I drew them with the kind of knowledge a child has. Like, you know, once again, like, oh, chameleons change colors because they camouflage, which is not true. So as I got older, I had to, like, you know, change certain things, revise certain things. Some of it is just made up as I went along. Like, Camille has a very distinct kind of crown, if you would, or the extension of the chameleon's head, of its skull. It's very different than what probably is real. That's the way I did her. But I haven't really done enough anatomy checks on reptiles and especially chameleons to want to change it. It's that, that style over, I guess, what it should be. Style over substance. That's not right. I don't know. So I'm just using the drawing I have off to the side as my reference for right now. Like a very simple, it's a very simple idea what I think needs to be done. Chameleon's also meant to be very like lanky. Like chameleons are, if actual chameleons are just like an arch, like they're kind of stiff in the when you look at their body, but I wanted her to be tall and lanky, kind of like I don't know. I guess as I got older, I decided to make her more like closer to like her bird slash dinosaur ancestry. Like she's just this tall character. She goes from chameleons are like yay big, but Camille is like 5'11". Like she's meant to be this tall creature, this kind of this, like this, I guess you know what? If you're ever a fan of oh yeah, as for the sound effects, by the way, I just looking for like jungle sounds, nice like jungle sounds. But as I was saying, essentially, um, if you ever seen the that cartoon, The Proud Family, you know how they have in the Proud Family in the main children's cast, there's the main character Penny, and she has I think Dijonay is one black friend. I think one friend is Mexican, and then you have the really tall and lanky white girl with the orangey red hair and the freckles. I think she has red hair. She's kind of like that built. Like she's tall and lanky. And the reference I have that goes like this. I kind of want to not do that because I want to keep I want you to be able to see her face. Camille also does, in my original design, she has a slightly longer than usual neck. Just slightly longer. Like, enough where, like, you know, you could probably get an actress to play her. But I guess if it was animated, you could really, like, lean into the fact that it's like that. Wrong button. Fun fact, when I designed her, you know, I gave her a breast. Because she's a female character. It wasn't like I gave her giant breast, but I gave her a breast. But as time went on, and I learned more about, you know, just animals in general, and like what I want to do with these characters, I want them to be animals that, like, not so much evolve, but like change to semi-mimic human form. Eventually, I just took away the breast. Yeah, she's actually just like she's feminine because she does have like wider hips, feminine-esque features to the face, but she's just flat-chested because reptiles don't have breast. They have, she has chest muscles, she has like pecs, but that's pretty much it. She kind of has like a thin androgynous look to her body, but you do see a bit of a hip, and you do see like more feminine facial parts. Just using this little kid photograph just to get the angles I want. Fun fact, she does have a frill, like right here in the neck. Doesn't go all the way to the chin, but she has a frill down on her neck, which, you know, just it leans to the animalistic parts of her. That isn't just like, oh, elegant and, you know, sleek. There's also a few other little traits like, you know, you have the earlobe. You ever seen some people who don't have an earlobe where the ear just kind of goes straight down to the head? Rare, but you do see it. That's what she has. Because like reptiles don't have ears that stick out like us. So for her, she has an ear, but it just literally just like goes right to the ear, right into the side of the head. These are like the little things I started like doing to the character to kind of make it like certain like really unique traits that I wanted like the character to have. yes, her lips have like the lines that like some like snakes and and actual other chameleons have and stuff. In my original sketch, I essentially she has almost like a perfectly round head. Like I just draw a round head. Like for her, more than like the skull is like round, and then I do the extensions off of it. Oh, checking the chat. Give me a second. I'm reading your comment, Joe. Was it where's Gamora? I got one for you. Who's Gamora? I got one for you. Why is Gamora? I don't think you have any owls in the jungles. Is that right? No, wait. If my foot's back, this is the wind up part of the foot. Okay, so that's the toe. Okay, yeah. I'm trying to get the underside of the foot right, because that's the heel. Should be something like that. Probably covered by her tail anyway, but I'm just trying to get, just trying to get some semblance of correct anatomy. Now, this was done in 2000. The book I'm using is 2000 and... Is it 2010? No. Sorry. This is, 8 and 9. 2008 and 9. So I was definitely out of college. Because college was 2007. But even then, this is still like a style I had where everything was really angular. I still did a lot of the artwork, like exaggerating like the muscles. Just everything was just, I don't know, I just did everything angular. I don't know why. So her anatomy was based off of that, like very thin and pointy, which isn't exactly ideal, but. And I'm also right now trying to basically do anatomy for a character that it's kind of out of my wheelhouse, where she's thin, but she's not anorexic. Like, it's hard to do in between. You could do someone who's thin and muscular. You could probably do someone who's really heavy set. But to do like that in between, those Latin curves, or those naturally, you know, kind of skinny girls, it's just, it don't, you know, it's practice. It's all practice. It's funny you mentioned the sounds pigeons make and stuff. I mind you, I work in the garden, so I constantly hear mourning doves. I think they're called. Basically, smaller pigeons. They're brown. They're very cute, and they sound like owls. Hoo hoo. That's the noise they make constantly. That and robins. You cannot not hear robins at my job. She has hands like this, but she does have. In fact, let me see if I can look it. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. I spelled that wrong. So chameleons are interesting the way their hands are. Chameleon skeleton. Not sketch, skeleton, please. There we go. I'm just Googling it real quick. There we go. See, chameleons are interesting because I believe they do have 5 fingers altogether, but the fingers are like our fingers are all up and then one to the side. But their fingers are like split, almost more like a bird. Where they have like 2 in the back, 2 in the front. There we go. So chameleon's actual fingers are 3 in the front, 2 in the back. So it's almost like they have 3 fingers and 2 thumbs. But for sake of this, I give her hands like that. That's the way I design her hands. Just to be more human-like. I always find that interesting. That chameleons have the same number of fingers as mammals. At least in the front of their hands. Rocking in the treetop all day long. So her frill is about the length of her head. Like from the chin to the top of her head, That's what her frill is. So she actually stands like 6'6", even though but the top of her skull is roughly 5'11", give or take. Is that right? Did I do that right? I'm looking at my old sketch. She's also looking up, which is a pain, because I have to get the frill right. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try this again. This should be leaned back like that. There we go. Yeah, given which way she's looking right now, yeah, it's better. Such a light difference, like right there's a center. Like I have to like sculpt her, to like I have to have a sculpture of her head to get it just right. So she has orbs of like raccoon kind of skin pattern around the eyes, because Chameleon's eyes stick out, but her eyes are in, but she still has like unique eyepiece. And then she has almost like a hood and a secondary hood. So that's one, yeah. And then she has almost like a bone, like a spike at the top. So it's like a completely made up like anatomy for how her head works. Kind of like she's channeling Triceratop DNA or something. And yes, I'll say it now before anyone else does. There's always a chance of accidentally giving her penises on her head, which I try to avoid. There's always that chance that happens. I believe there's one. Was it Crayola? I'm not sure I did her. I know I have an old picture I did of her in color pencil. I did do one of her in marker. Yes. I did a picture of her in marker, and that's when she's like screaming and she has like the red stripes on her face. Yeah, I saw one chameleon turn that color. If I could find that picture, they did so many ways. Sometimes they have stripes. Sometimes their entire back turns like a deep purple. There's ones that turn red and have like white on the lips. But I saw one that had white with like red stripes. I have no idea which chameleon it was, but I just really wanted to. I really wanted to try it out. Let's see, angry female. Yeah, they get stripes down their bodies. They get more and more vibrant. They kind of like light it up. And sometimes they'll have like red faces. Yep, there's a few with like red faces. So once again, I kind of made that up too. Okay. That's looking good. Maybe I'll make the pieces coming from the back of our ears. I make them a little bit thicker, but I think we got the angles right for now. Once I ink it, I'll see it better. To also give her more of an innocent look, she has like almost perfectly round like eyes. And like if you look at books of how to draw anime, you know, the innocent one, the tsundere, you know, the angry anime girl, or like they there's like it's shorthand. Not all anime characters have big round eyes. There's actually shorthand for like archetypes. But with that being said, she has big rounded eyes, which works because a chameleon has big round eyes. They usually only see like the black of the pupil, and in her case, it just works that way too. Right. Now for that tail. God knows I don't know how to do a freaking tail. I think it's time to rearrange this background. Canvas size. Yep. Oh, yeah. We're gonna go with that. Which means I'm also going to adjust my my small camera, the navigation camera. Un momento. Edit filters. Okay, so just basically pulling it. You can probably see it live. Just adjusting the size and width of the navigation window. Let's make that 50. Make that 70. Almost. Make it 90. There we go. That's better. Okay. Let's move you up here, baby. Right about there. No, that's not what I meant to do. Put you right there. Stay. Where's my mechanical arm? Navigation on. There we go. Hold that in place for me, navigation on. Just make the stream look professional in some sense. Alright. Okay, we're good. On the fly editing. You gotta love it. Jungle tree, and we are going to just kind of, there you go. That's a jungle tree. What the heck did I just do there? That was weird. That's the jungle tree. Chameleons have little curly tails, little curly tails. But they're not like cat tails. They're big and bulbous like an alligator. People do a cat girl. It's this little cat tail. It's like a tube. But let's be honest. Chameleon's tail is thick. You can see, well, I was talking about how I tend to do stuff like angular. So if that's curved downward, I should curve this like that. Yeah, her tail is massive. Her tail is way too like. It should taper a bit more. There we go. It should taper. Get thinner and thinner as it goes. How long did I gave her like a huge. I gave her like a freaking snake tail. Like actual chameleons, their tails aren't like that. Well, kind of. Their tails are actually. The chameleon tail is like almost the length of his body. Like I'm looking at these images. It's like a. It is a. In truth, it is a pretty thick, like, chunk of its body. So let me grab. Okay, so if and then let's do a frill here. This is the frill, and then that's the frill. Kind of you lose it there, then you get it back here. Which means you do see a bit of the undertail here. And you see a side of it there. I'm just trying to get like some semblance of like how does anatomy work through the tail, man. She has a flat butt. She's like a non-existent butt. Chelsea Handler. The hell's that, man? Once again, chameleons are like this. They're bricks. They're just like they're like footballs. They're just round. So I'm like her anatomy is just not really, not really chameleon-like if you think about it. I never really like designed stripes on her naturally. Like I should, like by default, she should have some stripes on her. The idea was the stripes would become more vibrant. So maybe now's the time, people. Now's the time to like really like really get in there and just finally give her with those stripes she deserves. Down the back on I say down the back, yeah, down the side of the upper leg, down the thigh. But it's mainly on the back. For a lot of these I'm looking at, it's like it's mainly on the back, along with beautiful spikes. Like you could go nuts if you really wanted to with these. So I'm just kind of fudging it right now. Yeah, let's give our girl her stripes. And yes, her back frills. She has back frills and she has a few frills right there. It goes right down the neck up to the collarbone. Give her bony shoulders. Yep, keep those bony shoulders. Why not? Yeah, so let's throw some inks in there. And then, I think... You gotta type in? Because she's meant to be a type of African chameleon. I'm sure it's like 1,000 species. You have one called the Flatmap Chameleon, which is pretty much what she is. Just a really bare bones chameleon. And the flat necks. Flat necks are just seem to be basic green. Majority are basic green. You don't really see stripes on them. See what I mean? But the flat necks do have a little thing down the neck. Little frill. Yeah, here we go. Flatmap chameleons are native to parts of Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa. They don't have stripes going down their backs, but they do have white stripes going like down the side of their ribs. You know what? We're working on the color stage. We'll go. That's all coloring. Let's get her inked up. That is coloring. We are. I mean, that is for the coloring stage. Right now, we're gonna lessen this a bit. We're going to lock that. We're not gonna worry about it so much. And now we're gonna do some inking. Let's get the lines in there. Let's get this girl inked up. But before we do, what do we do, people? We save as. Where's my folder? Where are you, baby? Where are you? Now comes a time where I look through my hundreds of folders, wondering what the heck I called it originally. There it is. Okay, now we get to grass or some kind of Russian expression. I don't know. Something from that movie, The Guardians. Skies are gonna clear up. Once again, she's a character who has like full lips that kind of give way to, like, you know, the slits in the side. It's that slight, you know, it's that little bit of uncanny valley that I'm kind of okay. I'm kind of okay with these characters having. So, if you've ever seen the movie Princess Mononoke, in the movie Princess Mononoke, when the characters, when I think the protagonist meets the Wolf Queen or the Wolf Mother, I don't know what they call her in the movie. There's a scene where she laughs. When the animals talk, they don't really move their mouths. They just kind of like gesture their heads back and forth. There's a scene where she laughs, so it's a dog laughing. So all of a sudden she goes from like not moving her mouth to suddenly the entire mouth just opens up, and it's kind of like a, what was the thing? Is it extinct now? I think they're called like Tasmanian wolves, I think, or something. Just like this giant dog mouth. So like with her, you know, she talks to you and her mouth moves like a regular person. But when she gets like super excited, she goes ah, and like you just see like the jaw kind of hinge open. And she has this like blunted, like she just has like all these like little sharp blunted teeth, pointed blunted teeth, if that makes sense. and she does have just like black eyes. Like even the pupils are very very large. Um, was it a doll's eyes? Sharks have a doll's eyes. That's what she has. Camille's also one of these interesting people because as I got older and I realized, yeah, she doesn't have breasts. She therefore doesn't have to wear a shirt. Like she pretty much just walks around like more or less in a loincloth because like, and mind you, these are meant to be animals that have gained like a higher intelligence and have become these anthropomorphic characters. So certain things they learn, and she's like, well, I don't gotta wear a shirt. Well, she had to learn how to why clothes were important. Not so much for modesty, but like there's the running gag I have in the series where it's like, well, why these guys are animals that became humanoid in intelligence. Why do they need to wear clothes? And the running gag is low branches, especially among the male characters, because of low branches. Once again, the actual chameleons also have their skull just extends back. There's no like real definition aside for a few that have horns. There are a few chameleons that have horns, but for her, like you actually see like a few of the like definition, kind of like you can see like where the cartilage to the bone to the skin is on her. Yeah, her crown is completely different. It's not just an extension of the bone. It's like it's reduced. It's still there, but it's like reduced in terms of like its in terms of like its design. It's like it's three basically bone structures with like a webbing in between. I tried to do the bone like little. It's not like not like a spike exactly, but it has a little bit of a wiggle to it. It's not perfectly like straight. So it's just perfect. I'll just do that for it's perfectly straight. I like giving it a little bit of a scratch here and there. Hmm. It's a bit off. That's definitely a bit off. Let me fix that. Especially since we're looking at it from beneath. Shift is to add that. There we go. It should be like there. These are meant to be like super straight too, but I'm giving them some. I'm giving it some leeway. Alright. Now I'm tempted to just give a big long monster hands, but to be honest, um, I designed her hands to be pretty much humanoid in proportion. bony butt of hers. You have to definitely work on the shape of that. Mm. Just looking at some reference real quick. Trying to get a piece of anatomy right. Doesn't help at all. So I'm looking for like a woman laying flat looking at you, but all I get is sideways images, like they're just them laying sideways across the like a freaking photo shoot. Okay, that's one. Kind of works. Maybe. I'm not showing it, of course, because lots of Google pops up nudes, so I'm not trying to do that. I think we're done with the original ref. We can get rid of the original reference. Yes, close. No, do not save. Boom. Original reference is gone. Once again, having the giant tail doesn't really help, but it is what it is. I'm liking it so far. Because an actual chameleon's tail just kind of just curves, just like that. With her, I want it to be a bit more lively, like it's more like a snake almost, like it just wraps around in all directions. Okay. The frills are also a bit more exaggerated in terms of shape. Like you ever seen an alligator's like actual like tails, like their plates, like the frills and the spikes, not spikes, but just like the scaling on like a alligator or crocodile. They're all just armor freaking spikes. So I have like fun scenarios in my head, given her and the other characters. And it's like a scene where the characters are all just hanging out like on the beachfront, splashing in the water. Um, One of the human characters who's like meant to be like 20. He's like 19. He's 19. In the story I made, he was like 19. He's just like in the shade, like making a straw hat for himself while his sister's in the water splashing around. And then Camille's just like on a rock, just like it's like really strange enough. Like the story is a fantasy story with like animal characters and a little bit of commentary on like society and making a new society from scratch, which is what they are. They're like, what do we do with this? We have this intelligence now, but what do we do with it? But it's also in way a kind of like a slice of life story. It's just like them existing. It's like it's like meant to be like a happier version of if what was that? Not Dr. Giro. That's Dr. Giro's from freaking Dragon Ball Z. Um, oh, Joe, help me out. Monroe, the Doctor of Island Monroe, the Doctor of Island Monroe. Oh god damn this dyslexia. The Island of Dr. Monroe. There you go. The Island of Dr. Monroe. It feels like if the animals didn't get screwed over, like if they actually like, a little bit of Planet of the Apes, in terms of like trying to create a new society from scratch with a little help from a few human characters. As Joe and Katorius Rex, a lot of my friends know, I am a sucker for stories that depict humanity and things that aren't human. Going all the way back to one of my favorite childhood movies, Short Circuit. Just like when given the chance, when given the chance and given the help, you know, can something without a soul have a soul? I love stories like that. That's my jam right there. You know, uh, Dr. Frankenstein doing his job right. You know, raising his creation to be better than he is. Like things like that. You are a parent. You you will take care of this thing you have brought into the world. That's kind of like stories like most stories where the creature goes mad or the monster goes mad is because it was treated like garbage. Most stories are like that. Like life without guidance, you know. That's why everything goes to pot. So like the story where this girl comes from, where Camille and her rest of her family come from, it is the opposite of that. They are given a chance to like actually be more. I have never written it. It's mainly in my head, and I figure, you know what? I think before the talk that Joe and myself have, it's about time I start drawing the character more and introducing you guys to them. Looks good. That is good. That is good. Okay, let's get that tree in there at least. So I'm off from work tomorrow, which makes you think I could stay up a little later today for the stream, but I can't. Cause guess who has two thumbs? Guess what has two thumbs and has been summoned to court? This guy. Rather, I've not been summoned to court. I've been summoned to jury duty. So we'll see where that goes. You know, with her, like leaning towards my more angle, my more angled ancestry when it comes to art. It kind of works because she is kind of like a bony character. She's like all these little like corners and everything. Yeah. Yeah. It's good. You know what? Let me pull this little bump down a pinch. Yeah, I feel that might be better. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's better. Okay, let's save that real quick. Save. Drink some water. Oh, get up in my chair. Yeah. Give me a second. I'm gonna check my Picardo. Anyone in the chat there? Let's see. Anything new going on? Is my stream even working there like it was at first? You can see her better on the screen. Okay. When I first logged on, it said I had 2 viewers. No one there now. Oh, thank you, Marigold. Thank you so much. There's a handful of artists I follow on Twitter, on Twitch. I have to admit, some I follow more because I find their like avatar really interesting. There's like one called Honey Goblin. Her artwork is very nice, but I just find her avatar like super interesting, and because it's her own design, so it's very cute, very cutesy like design. Um, there's a number of artists I follow whose like anatomy is freaking amazing. Um, I wonder if I may give me a second. Um, so like a few people I follow. One is named IA. What the heck is that? That can't be right. Let me mute that. Yeah, IAHFY. Ify? Ify? Basically, it's a woman who does a lot of like pin-up-y kind of artwork. That's like her gimmick. Like she always was this like one succubus character, but her artwork is really really good. IAHFY, and her icon's like a little cutesy like pink demon girl. Her work is very nice. If you ever get a chance to check out her work. I mean, it's not like she needs me to send her more subscribers. She has plenty, but a good artist is a good artist. So coloring her is pretty easy. We're gonna start with just a base of green. Just make it all like a nice light green, and then we'll start adding some fun textures and stuff. In case you're wondering, yes, she does have a wide nose. Just like a broad nose. Just look at the nose now, thinking about that. Fix that. Fix that. Okay. Adjust my pen because it's acting funny. Okay. Lock that layer. And cooler layer. I should give her pants. This is blocking all the color first. Then I'll go back. I want to get away from the inks for a bit. Like I basically just give her like the equivalent of like cut off. It looks like the equivalent of like cut off jean shorts. It just has these little like raggedy like little shorts she wears, which I might need to change. You know, to work around the fact that she has a giant tail on her. We'll figure that out. But she's always worn like, she looks like Misty from freaking Pokemon. She always wore like little cut off shorts, and at one point like a cut up shirt that was like short, because she just freaking, she doesn't care. She just runs around. She's a chameleon. She doesn't care. She lays down on rocks, for crying out loud, and absorbs sunlight. Start with a nice vibrant green for now. And like I said, the chameleon I was thinking of when I looked at her was a basic looking chameleon, but they have like white stripes going down the sides. Don't know if that's just the males or just the females. I gotta check that. They don't really have like stripes. You know, it's you're doing fantasy. I'm doing fantasy. So at some point I need to like draw the line and just be like, she could change whatever color she wants. But I do like developing her in a more realistic form in terms of her anatomy, in terms of some aspects of her anatomy, is fun. It's that blend between how much of it is exact to the anatomy, how much of it is just me making up stuff. Yeah, I love, like, I mean, I went to school for art. That's, take that as you will. But what I really mean is, when I got to college and started taking anatomy classes, I started to push away from preconceptions. Like, you kind of get used to drawing something a certain way until you realize that's not how it should be. Like, there's no shame at looking at references. There is no shame. So when I got into college and I actually had like anatomy classes where we had models in front of us, like, that's what that looks like. And then you learn to translate that into shorthand. In other words, then you start making your own style based on that knowledge of anatomy. You actually do need to know basic anatomy before you can actually even develop a style that is seemingly departing away from that anatomy. I gotta clean up the inks around this tail. Perfect example. I met the guy who was the lead designer on the cartoon Kim Possible. And all his characters, if you look at Kim Possible, she has like this curve to her body, like an S curve when she stands, like the way the pants are drawn. Like he has this obviously notable style. And this is years ago when I passed his booth and I was like, these characters look like the Kim Possible style, which says something when you could recognize someone's art style. But they all have this kind of S curve. They all have kind of like baggy cargo pants when they stand. But he gave me his book he was selling. He gave it to me for free because like we did like a little interview, and I recorded him and everything. Well, sorry, my friends recorded him. I interviewed him and talked to him. Regretfully, nothing came from that interview, but he gave me this really thick book, and I was like, "Oh, thanks, dude. I'm just some schmuck whose friends may or may not edit this footage." And in the book is his original anatomy, like from school, from high school and college, which was just charcoal drawings of fat people sitting down. And he had to learn all that first. He had to learn all that before he like got a real grasp. And you realize the S curve he does is just the natural S curve you see in the human body, but exaggerated. Ooh, that's the wrong color. Yeah, mind you, this was many years ago when I met him at New York Comic Con, and I bought. What I did buy from him though, he gave me the book, but what I bought from him was this cool picture he did of the cast from Back to the Future, but just like in his style. You know, Biff Tannen, the bully, the father Marty, obviously Doc Brown. Yeah, how did I not clean up this tail earlier? There we go. It was just bugging me. I'm probably going to keep going back and forth to it. It feels good drawing it. I think out of all the characters I've tried to revisit, I've drawn her the most. Because I think as much as I ramble about like not being sure about the anatomy and stuff, like I think she's the character I've like really had defined in a way. There's two human characters. I've always just have trouble in general drawing them. Okay. Basic flat colors, that works well. Okay, we got... I'm making sure I'm not on the wrong layer. Okay, good. Flat inks in, file, save. Yeah. I mean, it's a print. It's not an original, but it is a print of his original artwork. Basically, whenever I go to conventions, I go usually looking for a particular artist, or I just walk around Artist Alley, and I'll buy their artwork if I just people I've never even heard of before. I'll buy their artwork, and then I'll usually have them sign it as well. So my hallway is just filled with like posters of artists I've met. Some original pieces. I have a few small pieces that's just like really small thumbnails, but they all one of a kind because they're the original. Everything's signed, and I was just telling Joe that I need to get some picture frames because I have 5 pictures I need to frame that I bought like 2 years ago. By artists I met at conventions for the first time, and by artists I knew about and went to go meet them. So yeah, I just have tons of artwork signed by different people because it's like my collection. And I have some of my own artwork I need to also hang up. So I have a number of things I want to do, but right now it's like I want to show off my collection. All right, so let's do top-down lighting. So I'm looking at all the color options I have here, right? Because different programs lay out their colors differently. Sometimes they're just swatches of like pre-rendered colors, and for Photoshop for years I just did the swatches. Like, oh, this goes here, this goes there. In Clip Studio, it's a ring of rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, purple, etc. It's a ring. And I've seen some where it's the ring, but they also have the ability to click in between, from like green over towards red. So it's not like how this. That's not how this one is. So you could basically choose how you want to do the darks. So I could just drag it from the green into the blue, or just stay in the green and then drag that within its own, like, green to white, green to black. If that makes any sense to anyone out there. For example, there's the red, right? Right. Let's say I did red color pencil. Now you see how the red over the green gives you like a nice dark color, because red naturally darkens green into a brown color. Like if you're painting, you don't just add black to green, you add red to green to make it like a more natural darkness. That is the color I want. Yeah, that's the color I want for sure. Okay. So it goes like more like, see, now it looks more like an olive color. I made it a habit where whenever I buy artwork, I get it signed. And I take a photograph with the person. Not of the person. Correction. Not with the person. There we go. I usually take photographs of them with their permission. I'll ask the artist, hey, can you sign this for me? And they'll sign it. And then I'll ask them, hey, do you mind signing this? And as I probably mentioned in my streams before, I take my Polaroid camera with me. And that's how I get, like, photograph autographs of, like, these people. And some of them think it's awesome. They're like, yeah, sure. They get really, really excited of the Polaroid. And I ask them to sign that for me. Because it's more of a proof of, like, I met this person. That's more like a portfolio. That's more like an album collection as opposed to, like, just signed artwork. Because anyone can get signed artwork and sell it. But sometimes meeting the people, sometimes they'll be like, hey, I want to be in the photo with you. I go, okay, we'll take a photo together. It looks nice. That, like, olive green against the vibrant looks very nice. I like that. Because I think, much like birds, I think female chameleons aren't as vibrant as male chameleons usually. Like I said, when I was doing searching online, they were like, I saw things that said only male chameleons change color. And then I saw a video of, like, a female chameleon changing color when she was unhappy. And I'm like, what? So, like, I'm getting, like, mixed results on this freaking species. But even then, female chameleons just in general are, like, usually monotone green. They only get vibrant, like, bright green when they're happy. So yeah, so she's not going, like, her base color isn't going to be, like, super, like, all over the place. So I can't remember the name of her now, but I did find this artist. Um, so ironically, I found her, like, on DeviantArt, and then when I went looking for more of her artwork, I found out she does a mixture of family friendly artwork and not family friendly artwork. But man, her coloring is beautiful. She does primarily anthropomorphic characters. Like, her main characters are like wolves and dogs, but like modern day people, like Zootopia kind of stuff. But she did this series with, like, this blue Egyptian themed cobra woman. So she had the cobra, like, frill on the neck. She was vibrant blue and she was heavy. Like, she did, you think snakes, you think thin. No, she designed a heavy set female Cobra, and in the coloring, she did the scales. Like in the inking, she didn't really do black inking for the scales, but she would do like things like speckles like this, like kind of like dots like this, to kind of indicate the scaling. And I thought that was genius. I might try a little bit of that with this character. If not this character, I do have a snake character, and snakes are more known for like you really see the spots on them. But yeah, like I saw that and I was like, that looks amazing. The name escapes me right now. But when I saw like that Cobra character, I was like, wow, that is beautiful. And the character was also beautiful too. Really cutesy, like happy-go-lucky character. Once again, kind of Egyptian themed with like the way her outfit was. Who knows? Maybe I could try some new. That's an interesting color. How did I get that color? I just grabbed the color by accident. Um, maybe I could try some new brushes with this character and see what can give me that kind of like faux scale look. Okay. Yeah. So let's go with that for now for brightness. No, I just erased it. I was an idiot. Click it. There we go. If anything. Ugh. Why? I keep clicking away. Click you. Put you right there. There we go. Now that I have you. Maybe a bit brighter. Too bright. Too bright. We'll stick with that. In fact, this is when you do this. Light. Mid. Dark. Tail color. Okay. Frills and highlights. Boom. There we go. File save. This yellow's a bit bright, but we'll probably have to blend it in. Boop, boop. We'll sink it in. For now, I just want to get a type of highlight I'm kind of happy with. Just slightly different from the scales, not completely, but it's slightly different. The scales will get darker tones as well. When I say scales, I mean the frills, that is. Just drop a big color swatch in there. might need to do some reference in my own artwork. I actually can't remember. God. I actually have to go to my own Instagram to remember the differences in her head pattern profile. Like, yeah, what colors are her? What colors are certain parts of her crown compared to others? Use the mouse for this. Damn, was that as far back past Inktober? Where are you, baby? Yep, there we go. There it is. I knew I was doing something wrong. This is this color. The actual pillars, whatever you want to call them, they are this darker color. Alright. So her main skin has all its tones, but the frills and the towers and the highlights of the eyes need to also get their shades. But now I'm just gonna see if I could, figure out some brushes that might work well for this. Because normally we use, for skin tones, we usually use our color pencil because that blends nicely. But maybe, what's real pencil look like? Real pencil has a texture to it. Not really scaly if you think about it. Real pencil is good. It's just real pencil. So, here's our color pencil, for example. Right? This is really soft. That's a color pencil. Can you guys see that? Am I even on screen? You guys can't even see that. Boom. Sorry. This is our color pencil. That's very soft there. Right? This is what they call real pencil. More granular. Design pencil? That's design pencil. Now, like, it's too soft. How do our pastels look? Chalk. Charcoal. Also very soft. I'll be here forever trying to color with that. Crayon. Nah. Let's see. So we're just trying different brushes right now. Speaking of, no, actually we're trying different pencils, different pastels, different pens, markers, not much to marker. But now we're into brushes. We have our watercolor that we used for hair last time, because watercolor gives like a line in between it. Like it gives actual strokes. Watercolor brush they have. Opaque watercolor. They have a they have a very long list of watercolor stuff here. Rough color edge watercolor. What the heck is that? It's like they're all so minute at this point. What the heck? That is weird. Okay, so realistic, different thicknesses, India ink brushes, dry gouache. Joe likes to use gouache. I never used gouache before. I think at this point we might have to just stick with basic shading. Like I'll just go about it like I would shade normally and then maybe do some speckled highlights for the scaling. Let's try that. Yeah. So I'm going to stick with my go-to, which is watercolor pencil. Correction, color pencil. We'll do some shading with that. This program has so many different like options in terms of like brushes. And once again, we'll probably go back and we'll leave them darker shades of this, rather than just rely on these two shades, of course. Make the blending a bit more gentler, not as harsh. Because we are going with an olive green against this, this vibrant green, which works as long as the blending works, as long as it, gets there in a certain way. Not sure how dramatic I want this all to be. plus to the fact that I'm doing like top-down lighting, so there's gonna be a lot of heavy shadows anyway, which is fun. It's fun to actually like play around like this with the shadows. I've had a song stuck in my head this entire freaking stream. Alright, guys, and it's not even the actual song, it's like a meme of the song. I can't even sing it because it won't make any sense to anyone. So once again, the program is Clip Studio. It is free, and it's free. Like that's their claim to fame. You could pay for the bells and whistles, the extra stuff, but it's free. And for someone who's used Photoshop for many years and just couldn't get into it, like I don't know. I guess it was like starting from scratch with a new program. I think was what I needed to really examine and see how I address this, because I've known people who've done amazing stuff in Photoshop. I just could never really use it for coloring. I couldn't really get into it for coloring. Yeah, I like the soft blending. It's working. So it is top-down light, but at a slight angle, which is why I'm catching, like, for me, the right side of the picture. Oh, wrong way. So I'm watching the clock, as mentioned before. Um, that was the wrong size pen I want to use. As mentioned before, I might not be working tomorrow, but I still have to get up at a certain time. So be at 10:30. I think I'll be calling it. You'll know because my camera slash phone will start ringing horribly. Ooh, that's too big. I have to remember that the larger I choose on the pixels, it's not just the size of it because it's color pencil. It also like it increases like the bleed of it. It's like just going up a little bit from like 5 pixels to 7 pixels. The bleed goes crazy. Pressing the wrong button. Okay, some base shading works well. Alright. Let's at least get... Let's get the color tones ready for this. So that's the darker color for that. And it's the same color almost. Almost. Let's bring it back down. Like right around there. There we go. For the frills, there we go. So we'll just drop some really, it's like such a vague difference in color. It's just so much green in this. But they all need to be slightly different. It's like slight shades of olive, vibrant green. I guess you call it like olive greens, which are more like a grayish tone in a way. Yellowish greens, which are the vibrant part of her bodies, and then more like a deep leaf, grassy green for like her eyes and her lips. There, we'll get them in frame. Okay. It's 10:20. We got our lines pretty much done. A few cleanups here and there. I'm happy with the anatomy on this. I'm actually happy with it. Just a little... Yeah, I'm good with the anatomy. We have our different shades at the moment that we're going to now start working. I'm not sure how intense I want the shading to be. I don't know if she's like in the tree shades, so when the light hits her, like the very top is shaded, but she has like heavy, really heavy shadows. It's still a matter of like balancing these different green colors. And then once we have like shading done, smooth shading, I'm gonna look up some techniques for like digital shading for scaling. 'Cause I don't want to. You look at a reptile of different types. It's not like you have to color every single scale. It's like there's a different way. There's different ways of approaching it. So I'm gonna see how I can do the scaling on her, where it hints scaling, but it doesn't have to be an entire body, everything super scaly. Because when you do that, you get things like dragons and alligators and kind of scary creatures. I want this to be a smooth looking creature, but it has scales. But yeah. With that being said, what I should do before we sign off, make a new layer. And per usual, did my stream just shut off? That was weird. I'm getting like an audio tick on my end. Well, I'm not getting any warnings from. That's weird. I'm guessing I'm getting lag or something. Sorry about that. As I was saying, what was I saying? Man, that blue looks nice against that green, doesn't it? That blue looks really nice against that green. We're gonna leave that blue for now. I just want to drop a basic flat color in the background so we can, we won't miss any fine detailing. But that blue looks nice. Anyway, all right. So we're gonna turn off. I'm gonna actually save this. Save to stream music. There we go. Saving this background. There you go. Stop the music. Alright, so, what was I saying? Yes. This is Camille. A character I've had since, probably, 6th grade or something. Right? Part of a larger family of characters that are, bears, mountain lions, which I know are not from African jungles, and there actually is a reason why they're in the storyline. There's certain reasons why certain animals that are obviously Western, American coast, end up in a primarily tropical setting. But it's Camille, the two human characters, George, who's sometimes called Gorge by accident by some of the characters that can't speak well, his sister Daenerys, which is a weird name. I've just always kept it Daenerys. They're the human characters. I do this because they're like human plus. There is a anaconda who's like an albino anaconda, so he's actually yellow. Not albino, but he's like a yellow anaconda, which isn't a thing. And one of the characters, his name is Boa, which is a misconception. So I called him Boa when I was younger. Found out that boa constrictors are not from there. Anacondas are from somewhere else. So his name is Boa. And he's like snake, but he has human arms. And a whole bunch of weird characters are just I made most of these characters when I was 4th and 5th grade. Then the way they looked evolved over time. But yeah, this is Camille. Yeah, she's just chilling out. So I want to say thank you for everyone who joined in. As always, thank you, Marigold. Thank you, Joe, as well, wherever you're at. I'm just reading the chats now. My pleasure, and thank you very much for the well wishes. Yeah, so I'm going to jump off, and here's my typical spiel. Once again, I am Dante. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I will see you in the future.